Doing the kind of reviews I do, I stumble upon a good deal of games that I find interesting but don't feel they warrant a full review. Either because they're too short, just don't have enough substance, or they're so niche that I don't have much to say. But I think with this type of video, I can finally tackle some interesting titles that have been on my radar for years. A prime example of this are puzzle games, because there's only so many ways you can say it just plays like this. And in the case of Tsuyoshi Shikkari Shinasai Taisen Puzzle Dama, it just plays like Puzzle Fighter. Well, I guess that's not entirely true, as it's more of a mix of Puyo Puyo and Puzzle Fighter. I say that because each character has a unique way of dishing out garbage, much like Puzzle Fighter, which is of course done by lining up as many chains as possible. And instead of having to wait for a special block to activate your chain, any 3 blocks of the same color in a row will kickstart your combo like Puyo Puyo. After that, all you have to do is outpuzzle your opponent by sending them trash until their screen is full and you can cry victory. It's a simple title that might not meet the standards of say a Tetris Battle Gaiden, but certainly outdoes some other competitors like its inspiration, the Puyo Puyo games. And with the 2-player capability and dirt cheap price sitting around the $10 mark, you truly can't go wrong with this Konami puzzler. The Mystery Dungeon games weren't always the massive franchise with ties to the Pokemon and Final Fantasy series like it is today. Its humble beginnings started with 2 games on the Super Famicom, the second of which I'm going to focus on. Fushigi no Dungeon 2 is a roguelike action RPG that has you traversing 30 stages, all of which increase in difficulty the further you go. The more you stick around and grind, the better chance you ultimately have of reaching the top. But do tread carefully. If a horde of monsters catches you in the wrong place or at the wrong time, you're sure to find yourself back at the bottom of the mountain to start your journey all over again. Not to mention other survival elements like the need to eat and rest come into play as well. Thankfully, there are towns along the way which can aid in filling your stomach and your party, as NPCs can be brought along to even your odds. Combat consists of simple mashing and slashing, and is fought in a pseudo turn-based style, but is still a good measure of fun as you'll find a variety of weapons like clubs, swords, and bows to take down the multitude of adversaries that hinder your progress. Not only that, but you're bound to find defense items like shields and other power-ups like spell staffs and scrolls too. Of the goons you encounter, many can do more than just deal damage. For example, some can poison or possess you to further dismantle your hard work, so do be wary. All in all, Fushigi no Dungeon 2 is one of those games that's perfect to go a few rounds with when you don't know what to play, because with its unforgiving nature, you're bound to find yourself at a game over after a short while, but also find yourself slowly advancing further every time you play. And that's what makes this one quite fun, a slow but steady progression. As far as pricings go, you're better off getting a fan-translated reproduction cart or just downloading the translated ROM. But if you prefer the purist route, expect to part ways with anywhere from $5 to $25 for a copy. And lastly, we have an interesting tactical RPG called Nage Libre Seijuku no Seishien. With it being an RPG, it's not exactly English friendly, which is the main impediment that's kept me from giving it a proper review. But the game is fully playable as long as you don't mind missing out on a bit of story. Speaking of which, Nage Libre is centered around 5 characters who have somehow ended up in a different world and now have to fight their way back. This will have you wandering about and getting into duels in many locations like schools, courtyards, and distant fantasy worlds. Before the game starts, each character is required to choose a gemstone that will represent them in battle. This will come into play later. But with battles in mind, they aren't exactly your typical Final Fantasy Tactics style skirmishes, but more so a mix of Yu-Gi-Oh! And Arcana, as battles are card-based. It's because of this that the game remains playable, as all of the cards are labeled in English. But overall, I think it also makes for some interesting game mechanics. For example, your card selection is random for each battle, so you may not always have the ability to attack your opponent when needed, so you'll have to strategize with what you do have to get by. In addition to attack cards, you have defense boosts, health regeneration, spell cards, mystery cards, escape cards to help you flee battles in a pinch, change cards which allow you to switch to a new card or one you have in your docket which can be purchased from the store, and they even let you change into something more comfortable with the costume card, cause you know, bloomers, swimsuits, and schoolgirl outfits are ideal battle attire. Thanks Japan. This is only a cosmetic change and serves no real purpose outside of just being eye candy. Remember those gems you had to choose? Well, they correlate to different colored jewels found on certain cards, And when you have one with your jewel on it, the power is doubled for your advantage, so use them wisely. And before I wrap this up, I have to mention the stellar soundtrack. While not every song is a hit, I can easily say this game boasts some seriously underrated chiptunes that not only encompass the action within, but also the warmth of the journey ahead. In conclusion, Nage Libre makes for a joyous experience that is only marred a little by the language barrier, but not enough to keep someone like myself who isn't really into tactics RPGs from having a lot of fun. Now if only that price tag and the scarcity of the game would come down. Also, it's a real shame there's no fan translation, but in the meantime, I'll keep my fingers crossed. And there we have 3 random Super Famicom games that you can add to your collection. Man, does it feel good to finally have some of these off my chest. This most definitely will not be the last installment in this series, as I have plenty of other smaller titles, not only for the SNES, that I could cover in this format. So stick around for another episode in the future.